This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by the Parker Group.
You know, the beginning of the year is a natural time to take a step back and take stock in your life. For some, that includes their financial life. Could this be the year that you make the leap to home ownership, or will you make the change and trade your mortgage payment for a landlord?
A survey conducted by the National Association of Realtors showed that 80% of consumers believe buying a home is a good financial decision. Still, renters account for 37% of all households, the highest level since the mid-1960s.
So, which is better when it comes to your home, renting or buying?
You're on the hunt for your dream home, but should you rent or buy it? Try a rent or buy calculator like this one on Realtor.com. It helps you compare rent and mortgage payments by taking factors like homeowners insurance and property taxes into account and showing you when buying becomes cheaper than renting. You might consider renting if you don't plan to stay in the property for very long or if you don't want to deal with maintenance. If you buy, then you need to budget at least 1 to 3% of the home price each year for repairs. Home ownership might be the way to go if you plan to stay in the property for at least 5 years, or if you want to make the home your own with improvement projects. It's a good idea if you can afford a 20% down payment so you don't have to pay private mortgage insurance. And as a rule of thumb, your home shouldn't cost more than 2.5 times your salary.
Now, no matter what you decide to do, rent or buy, there are a lot of factors that come into play.
So it's always a good idea to have somebody on your side who can walk you through the process. Maybe somebody like Dustin and Rachel Parker with the Parker Group at Linda Vista. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having us.
So, house, big decision.
Definitely.
What do you think is one of the biggest things to consider when it comes to making the decision about rent or buy?
Sure. I think it starts with their financial picture as a buyer. They need to take a look at their credit scores, speak with the lender, see if they can qualify to purchase before jumping too much into that search and falling in love with the home that they might not be able to afford. And then it comes down to lifestyle decisions as well. And
yeah, so I mean, if you think that you may be moving, if your job isn't stable, a lot of times people want to have the flexibility to know I won't have to pick up everything and sell my home if my life circumstances change. So that can be a big factor as well as your lifestyle.
So we just heard in that last piece that it's always a good idea to put down 20% as a down payment. Is that absolutely necessary?
So that's best practice. If you can, it is not absolutely necessary. Today there's programs where a buyer can put down as little as 0%. With some of the government loans and incentives that are available to them. So there's certainly programs that seem to fit just about everyone's needs.
You were talking finances. I guess it would be critical to stick to your budget then, wouldn't it?
It would be. You don't want to stretch yourself too much and get yourself in a position where you're not able to afford your mortgage or your electric bill, because homes do come with additional expenses, as you're well aware of, with repairs and maintenance and things too.
All right, so let's talk about the situation, the climate now. Is now a good time to buy?
Yeah, 2018 is looking great. I know, Dustin, you just were reading about it this morning.
Yeah, the Washington Post just put out an article recently, and they compiled a bunch of data and said that they anticipate that 2018 will be a year of continued growth. It's a good time to buy. Rent prices are going up significantly, and the purchase price of a home is not going up at the same rate. So when you're weighing your factors, that might be something to consider, that you may have more buying power than rent power.
Right. So is that for there? What about here? Are you seeing any trends for Delmarva?
There are a lot of trends on Delmarva, one of which that we're seeing is that we're seeing more out-of-state buyers that are moving into the western side of Delmarva. So it used to only be the beaches. Now towns like Milford, Milton, it's kind of creeping a little further west, that people from out of state are moving to Delmarva all over the peninsula.
Yeah.
They're finding out what we already know, huh?
That it's great here, right? That's why we
here.
love it so much.
Yeah. Okay, so you touched on it a little bit about the down, when you were talking about the down payment. Are there incentives for first-time home buyers?
There are. Specifically in Delaware, there's a reduction in the transfer tax rate, which is a big chunk of the cost. The transfer tax in Delaware can be split typically between buyer and seller, and that's 4%. So that's a big chunk of the closing costs, and so that can be cut in half for first-time home buyers. And then there's some other programs that lenders can work with them on, depending on income, that they might be able to incentivize that purchase as well.
I was going to say, what about second or third? Any incentives there?
So with the second or third home market, there's typically not as many incentives. They're related to income, but you can purchase a second or third home also with just 10% down in many cases too. So you still don't need the full 20% that most people believe.
I know there's a lot of people out there who are probably watching and saying, my credit stinks. I could never own a home. Is there something some words of encouragement you can give them?
I would say don't give up. Don't just assume that you're not going to be a home buyer. We work with a ton of great lenders that if you sit down with a lender, they can give you the full picture of your credit, of what you need to do. There may be one bill that if you pay this off, your credit's going to jump up significantly versus another bill that you shouldn't pay off. So if you really sit down with a great lender, they can give you a plan that you can work through. And we've seen people go from unable to purchase to being able to find a home in their price range within 6 months.
Wow.
So if you are serious about buying a home, I would say get serious and talk to a lender and come up with a plan, and also talk to a realtor about your budget and what homes are available in your area.
You can make it happen.
We can make it happen for you.
Right.
Rachel,
Never hurts to ask.
Thanks so much.
Dustin,
All right,
you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.